I really believe in the sport of mountain biking and how it can grow and what it can be in the US and around the world. And I think, I'm sort of in this exciting era where the sport can really build to be as big as road racing. And I want to be a part of that.
Christopher, thank you and welcome to the show. Excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah. For many of our listeners, they may not know who you are. Some of them do, but for those that don't, let's just sort of start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what you did as a kid, and sort of what brought you into cycling, sort of those early years.
Yeah, sure. Well, I grew up in Durango, Colorado, which, that has everything to do with sort of the cyclist I became and the upbringing I had on the bike and how intertwined, riding a bike is with growing up in Durango. But my first entry to bikes and bike racing was through BMX, and I went to the local track when I was 4. My dad saw an ad in the local newspaper, and it just completely stuck. And I raced BMX, on the national circuit super competitively until I was 16, really. So kind of mixed in the different disciplines along the way. But then the other entry point was through Durango Devo, which is, I'm a little biased, but I think you could objectively say too, it's maybe the most successful development program in the country for mountain bikes. And it sort of was an accidental development team. We were really just a group of kids in Durango riding our bikes for fun and accidentally got fast along the way. But rode with Sepp Kuss and Howard Grotz and plenty of others growing up, although they were a few years older than me. But yeah, so that was the entrance to the knobby tires side of the sport, and then mixed in some road along the way, and kind of raced all the different disciplines as a kid.
Jumping back to those BMX days, you were actually pretty well accomplished in those days. Several national championships, right?
Yeah, in BMX we call it NAG 1. That's the ultimate title for a BMX kid, and that national age group number 1. I think I was NAG 1 almost 10 times in the period of 12, 13 years I was racing BMX. So yeah, I took it super serious as a young age, and I'm really grateful for that though.
That's awesome. Congrats. So cool. After those BMX years, you moved on and you went to university as well, right?
Yep. Went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. Not known as a cycling school, but it's underrated as far as the community and the trail network out there. Growing up in Durango, everything's going to be a little bit of a step down, but I was pleasantly surprised. SRAM has an office there, as you obviously know. And I rode with Lance Hydett, one of the top cross racers and rider for Legion. And then had a roommate, Anders Johnson, who is on the World's Pursuit team right now. But so great group of riders. And it was also a good experience, school-wise, to not have cycling as the emphasis. I had friends who knew nothing about what I was doing on my bike, which I kind of wanted for a college experience.
Did you join the local university cycling team or club?
Yeah, I was part of the cycling club, which is more of a social, thing. And I think I did like 2 collegiate races just for fun. It was, like I said, great group. I think it was like 90 strong, the cycling club at Cal Poly. But everyone's there for bike nights more than races. Bike nights are like the monthly Thursday parade through downtown at 9 p.m.
I'll have to get some tips. I just dropped off my youngest child at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and he's a big cyclist.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, the best thing about it for me was the location. Obviously, I spend a lot more time than most college students, like out away from campus on my bike. But San Luis Obispo is an amazing town.
Right. What did you study in at Cal Poly?
Yeah, I was business, entrepreneurship focus, and then sociology. Yeah.
Had you not made the leap into competitive cycling, what would you have probably done as a career?
Yeah. I think I picked business and sociology because it's so adaptable, and I knew my focus was on making it to the Olympics when I came in as a freshman. So I wanted a major that could kind of support that. And if I was engineering or pre med, it would have been a lot harder. Um, Everyone in my family basically are doctors. My sister's in med school now, so maybe I would have like followed that path. But I think with the degree I got, I'd be interested in working for startups or kind of more on the social entrepreneurship side or maybe a nonprofit.
What about your own ideas? Are you ever dreaming of, what you could do to make something better or innovate in your own sort of space?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Not so much like the product side, but I have plenty ideas on that kind of like intertwine with the racing career. Cycling is such a unique sport because it's a lifestyle first and foremost, especially like in the U.S. Everyone knows mountain biking as a lifestyle, and I started a creative studio film production company with some friends last year. That's kind of pursuing the storytelling and event side of what the sport can be. So that's been fun, and I didn't think I'd actually put my degree to use, but I'm starting to a little bit.
And when you talk about that, are you referring to Stilspoke?
Yep, called Stilspoke. We I like that name because it's got like a bike reference to it, but
That's cool.
yeah, and it's really based around stories that can kind of translate to in-person experiences. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good challenge alongside, very different than racing a World Cup, but I like that.
Nice, nice. Well, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We designed this podcast to be sort of like a no drop group ride, like the two of us, riding side by side, just chatting, right? And so there's a couple different phases: the warm up, the sprint, the climb, and then the cool down. So we're just going to sort of go through the various phases. We've got this sprint round now that we want to jump to. I'm going to throw a bunch of words at you and just see how you respond to them and see what your preferences might be.
Okay, all right.
So gloves or gloveless?
Gloveless, but I always wear gloves in a race because I kind of feel like I have to. But yeah, I've skinned my hands plenty of times in road crashes to say gloves.
Yeah, good call. Pancakes or waffles?
Oh man, pancakes just because they're easier. You can make them in a European hotel kitchen if you sneak down and convince the staff to let you do that before race. So that's yeah, pancakes.
Totally. But you actually had waffles this morning, right?
I did. I had toaster waffles though, so they weren't
All right.
maybe fancy waffles.
Right. Gels or real food?
Real food for sure. Yeah, yeah, gels in a race.
If you had to choose one piece of inclement weather, cold or hot?
Hot. Uh, I have become super soft to cold since I moved to California, so I'm not, I don't have the Colorado thick skin anymore.
On a similar note, if it was raining or snowing and you had to go out and ride, which would you prefer?
That one, well, if it's cold rain, that's the absolute worst. And I love snow. Like you're dressed right and the trails have a layer of snow on them, but you could still ride them. Like that's the best.
Pavement or dirt? I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, pavement, just to get dirt. Yeah.
A power meter or perceived effort?
mm, yeah. Well, I mean, the marriage of the two is really where it's at, but power meters are, it's a, yeah, great servant, terrible master, I'd say. Power meters.
All right. Spicy or mild?
I like spicy. Yeah.
And last one, cables or wireless?
Wireless for sure. Yeah.
For sure. All right, let's shift gears again. So you've mentioned the Olympics a couple times, and I always get super excited anytime we're talking to an Olympian, either that's, training or participating or just coming back. So I'd love to hear more about your Olympic journey and potentially what's next on your Olympic journey.
Yeah. Well, obviously Tokyo was a unique Olympic experience for everyone. And for us mountain bikers, we were on the Izu Peninsula, which was 2.5 hours outside of Tokyo. So even if COVID wasn't a thing, we wouldn't been able to just pop down to the dining hall and see LeBron James, or I don't think that would have happened anyway, but that was my hope. Um, but I didn't get to see any other sports or interact with athletes outside of the mountain bikers. So it sort of felt like mountain bike summer camp. Um, but it was still an unbelievable experience, and I'd say largely because of the messages I got and the support I got for being there, and the gravity of it really hits, when you're
Right.
wearing those rings and and doing the thing. So it was awesome. But I think there's a lot left for me, in the Olympics, hopefully, and in Paris is only a year and a half away now.
Right. And so your eyes are on Paris, right?
Yep, for sure. And you go to one Olympics and kind of first one, I was first year elite, and it was just going to be an Olympian, giving my all. But Paris, I'm going to medal.
You're
That's
going to
that's
win.
the goal. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And for the listeners that aren't super familiar with the Olympic format of racing, can you just describe the event that you'll participate in?
Yeah. So it's cross country mountain biking, which is sort of the World Cup circuit has really been adapted, I think, like for spectators, for TV, and it's a little different than the point-to-point epic mountain bike races that the sport kind of grew from. But you do laps, typically around 6 to 7 to 8, and incredibly technical, incredibly hard climbs, and it's an hour and a half race. So that's the discipline I spend most of my time in.
So you're basically anaerobic for an hour and a half.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the starts are incredibly intense, and yeah, you never get a break. You're resting while you're going down a super steep, rock garden without much travel on your bike.
Incredible. I was fortunate enough to be in Leger at World Championships most recently, and you were there as well. Tell us about your experience there.
Yeah, it was an interesting World Championships for me. Didn't go the way I wanted it to result wise. It started with short track. I was defending a short track World Championship from 2021, and I had COVID in like a couple of weeks before, so was getting over that. Wasn't sure how I was going to feel, but I found myself going for the win in the short track. And with 50 meters to the line, I went for a pass on a rock garden and ended up getting a rock right to the head, and got up with turned bars, rotated bars, and ran across the finish line for 16th, instead of the win I was going for. So disappointing, but I wouldn't change anything with how I went for that. And sometimes that's how racing goes. And then unfortunately, I had concussion symptoms and I pulled out of the cross country race on Sunday. Feel better now, but I think it was the right call.
Right. What a bummer, and so close.
Yeah, yeah. I had a second there, um, where my mind was like, I did it. That was it. I passed. But Sam and I bumped a little bit, and it threw me off the line like by 6 inches. And those 6 inches, there's the rock. That line was just unforgiving. Either you made it, or you literally hit a wall. And I hit a wall.
Right. Man. Well, I know you're stronger for it, and I know you've got, this upcoming World Cup season in Tokyo on the way. Or I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Paris on
yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Have you ever had any other, close calls or crashes or any scary incidents? You must have, right? I mean, all cyclists crash, and what's the worst accident you've had?
Yeah. Well, when I was 10 BMXing, I crashed and actually fractured my skull. And um, the fracture went through my inner ear on my left side. So I'm permanently deaf in my left ear. Um, so I always, if this was a group ride chat we're having, I would be sitting on your left side so that my good ear was pointed towards you.
Right.
Um, yeah,
That's pretty gnarly.
yeah, yeah.
That's pretty gnarly.
But when you're 10, you bounce back. It was a little bit like rubber.
Yeah. When you were growing up, I should have asked you this earlier, but when you were growing up, who were some of the heroes of the sport that you followed or admired?
Well, the thing about Durango is they're in your town. They're right there. So Todd Wells was the best U.S. mountain biker at that time, and is a good family friend, and really looked up to him. And then likewise, Ned Overend, first world championship winner ever in Durango in 1990, was my neighbor. So the weekend, the Wednesday night short tracks and the Tuesday group rides, the heroes were right there. And then I think the people I was riding with, my sister was racing and really looked up to her and still do, obviously. And then people like Sepp Kuss and Howard Grotz that I was riding with. Um, yeah.
Now, you rode competitively on the road as well as mountain. Tell us about some of those road days were pretty intense as well, and why didn't you stick with road? Seems like road is the has the bigger spotlight, right? Did you ever have aspirations to, race in the Tour de France and, why'd you stop racing road?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think I just kind of listened to my heart and what I wanted to do, and that was always in mountain biking. And yes, road has more opportunities, more money in it. Um, and I had an opportunity to really follow that trajectory and make it to the world tour. But I really believe in the sport of mountain biking and how it can grow and what it can be in the U.S. and around the world. And I think I'm sort of in this exciting era where the sport can really build to be as big as road racing, and I want to be a part of that. Um, but I had some great opportunities on the road, starting with Hagens Berman Action, Axel Merckx's team, joining that in 2017. I don't know if I would have raced road past juniors if I didn't have the chance to join Action. But Axel was, amazing to kind of help me navigate road and mountain at the same time. And it was a great experience to race the pros. And then last year, I decided to line up for Tour of Britain, 8-day stage race with Wout Van Aert and Julian Alaphilippe battling it out every day. And that was a bit of a shock because I hadn't raced a road race for 3.5 years, but another great experience. I don't think I'll do too many of those again just because I like the mountain bike and dirt side more.
Right, right. What about peers today? Are there, the field that you race in, elite men's cross country, short track and long course, incredibly talented field. Who are some of the peers you look up to or that you follow, or are there other heroes of the sort of modern sport today that you look to?
Yeah. Well, non cycling hero is Kobe Bryant. I'm a huge basketball fan, huge Lakers fan. So, uh, yeah, I grew up idolizing Kobe, and you can bring sort of Mamba mentality principles to bike racing as well.
Sure.
But I think that the person I look up to the most in mountain biking, pretty easy, is Nino Schurter. The consistency he has, the I'd say like groundedness and just absolute like dedication to the sport for nearly as long as I've been alive is amazing. So Nino's career, I don't think we'll ever see again. Winning 9 world championship titles and the most World Cup titles ever. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So definitely, when I line up with him now, I don't think about that. I think I can, beat him every day, but he's still Nino, and he's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he is. He's going to be on this show as well, so we're excited to have him. Nino, I think, has one more World Cup race to win to take over the title from Absalon.
Yep.
One
So
away.
yeah, and I mean that's just it's amazing that um he's still such a you know pure athlete and going for the win, and he's still focused on getting those wins after how many he's gotten. So pretty remarkable.
It's pretty cool. Let's talk about some of these community efforts that you're involved in, which are incredible. You've got several, and I know you could talk for hours and hours about them. What's the one that sort of stands out that's nearest and dearest to your heart that you think sort of touches the world or your community in a really powerful way?
Yeah. Well, I guess just to give some context, there's Outride, which is I'm an ambassador for. My sister actually started the ambassador program. And Outride is focused on kind of youth development, and they have a middle school riding program, and they reward grants to local kind of youth based nonprofits. Outride's an awesome organization. Super proud to be a part of that. And then a couple others I'd say there's three that I maybe like spend my time working on and learning from. First and foremost is like the opportunity to learn from these different things while I'm have downtime between races is really what I do it for. But Silver Stallion is this nonprofit on the Navajo Nation in Gallup, New Mexico, so close to Durango, and it's really kind of intertwined with Outride. They help bring a lot of Outride schools to the Navajo Nation and in supporting or areas around that. But really trying to create a cycling ecosystem in this very rural, socially kind of distant community, and on the Navajo reservation. It's the size of West Virginia, but there's not a single bike shop, and there's some incredible riders out there. And it's amazing how the bike can really be a tool for connection, anywhere, but I think especially in an area like that. And I think the best race I went to last year, I was at some incredible events, the Olympics included, and the race that I loved going to the most was this one called Res Duro, which is an enduro hosted by Nigel James and his family in the heart of the Navajo reservation. And it was incredibly well run, and I mean, just the perspective on cycling there is pretty magical. So Silver Stallion has been an honor to really be a part of, and like I said, learn from. And then the last one, which is kind of is newer and growing, is Protect Our Winners, which is a nonprofit started by snowboarder Jeremy Jones. People know him, and it has grown. It is incredibly robust now, where they're bringing athletes from climbers to skiers to bikers now, anglers and hunters in the future, bringing them to Capitol Hill and to the White House to lobby for climate legislation. It's nonpartisan. It's focused on common ground. Of we all love the outdoors. We love the access we have privilege to in our sports, and we want to protect that, and we want to kind of take this climate crisis on. And the outdoor recreation has a massive voice that is backed by industry and money, but also by tons of people who love recreating in the outdoors. Anyways, you asked what one I'm.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's okay. Several's good too.
Yeah. But they're very different. I'd say there's some commonalities for sure, but I can't pick one. Is my answer.
Christopher, I'm curious, I love your passion in all these different areas in community building and environmental protection, et cetera. Was this big for you growing up? Was your family a big influence with this? Where did this come from?
Yeah, for sure, family and community has a lot to do with it, and I think it's also I feel lucky to have had access to education and parents who could support me through college education and have those interests really develop while I'm pursuing the Olympics the past 4 years, 5 years now. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think I just had a natural inclination to try to look for connections. And it really has to do with the bike and how the bike is tied to these different things, whether it's environmental, stewardship or youth development.
Right, right. Christopher, if we're going to wrap up now, if people wanted to follow along with your journey and some of the causes that you're involved in, what's your Instagram handle? We'll put it in the show notes, but where can people watch you?
Yeah, Christopher Blevs. That's just Blevs. And I guess on the other side, you could follow Stilspoke, which is just one L in there. And yeah.
Great. Well, it's been super awesome to get to know you a little bit and hear your story, and good luck in the future with racing. And we are definitely going to watch you in your next Olympic journey.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you, David. And I'm looking forward to some of the new SRAM stuff next year, I will say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right. Take care.
Awesome. Appreciate it.